You know what's wild? Most people can tell you their last failure before they can tell you their last win. And I get it. I failed this week. I'm sure of it. But ask me what it was, and I don't know. And if you ask me what my last success was, I also don't know. Why? Because I don't define myself by either one. Success isn't a checklist, it's a mindset. Too many of us are still chasing someone else's version of success, whether it's your parents when you grew up or things that you see on social media today. You need to define your own success. So let's fix that today. Hey, wonderfuls. Welcome to Helpers High by me, Tiffani, the podcast where we unpack feel good fuel, truth bombs, and real life magic to help us become the best versions of ourselves. Today's episode is titled Success is Personal, because it is. I'm going to share my definition of success, like what success means to me. But let me be very clear. We should all have very different definitions of success. Not what our parents told us to do to be successful, not what social media is showing. Success for me is if those who know me the best love and respect me the most. If I can continue to lay my head down at night and know that I led with love, showed up for the people in my lives that need me, and kept my word to myself, that's winning. That's success to me, period. Now, I know that we don't live in a world that honors this type of success. It sounds a little bit cheesy at best. The kind that's rooted in integrity, kindness, peace, personal growth, blah, 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 blah. We live in a world where it's more common to clap for money, hustle, and yes, even highlight reels. A world that's quick to reward being busy over being present. And let me say, there is nothing wrong with achievement that you earn. I love seeing people win. I want you to thrive. I wouldn't be doing this podcast if it wasn't to help others thrive. I want us to all have overflow. And I truly believe that none of us have to have less for other people to have more. There is enough for everyone. But here's the danger. When we start believing that external success is the only version that really counts, we disconnect from our truth. We forget that being kind when no one is watching is also success. That choosing rest without guilt is also success. That honoring your healing and showing up vulnerable, chasing growth again and again is also success. But it doesn't always get an applause, does it? And often it doesn't look like much from the outside. But make no mistake, it counts. Now, I've been asked at work if they can shadow me, like spend a day with Tiffani. Can someone effectively shadow you? Like learn anything, develop a growth plan just by seeing life through your eyes in one day? It's flattering at best, but I don't believe that that's really what they're asking for. I believe that they're asking for the recipe for Tiffani. They want to understand the energy, the impact, my presence. And the truth is, there's no script. And honestly, sometimes I stop and I ask her, what are you doing now, girl? My to-do list changes every day. So a shadow request is not as helpful as some might think it is. But once I know someone's why, I'm willing to share the how. Now, you didn't ask, but it could be helpful for me to share the how with you right now. My how. I'm curious. I love to learn. And I want to understand people's behavior, people's connection, and what motivates them. I reflect constantly. Like I said in episode 1, we have to remind ourselves what went well, not just what didn't go well. And I love to share what I've learned, not because I'm a know-it-all, but I'm always surprised by these learnings. And it feels sometimes like my sharing could be random, like it is right now, but there's always a good purpose at the end. Sometimes I shock myself with the things that I say, how deep a conversation gets so quick, but my intuition is strong and I cannot unsee your emotions. So I feel that. And that energy is truly fascinating to me, especially when I feel that and the person hasn't said a word. If I think of you and I reach out only to hear, man, I really needed that, or I'm so glad to hear from you. So many examples, but a story for another day. Honestly, when someone comes back to say that something that I did, something that I said really touched them, that's helper's high, guys. That's what I'm talking about. I study what I need based on the season that I'm in, whether that's parenting, friendship, communication, relationships. All of this is the different Tiffanies that people don't see. The behind the scenes Tiffany, the one that I'm most proud of. Now, let me tell on myself. I have goals that I haven't made progress on. And it's not because I don't want the result, but it's because I haven't built a support system to sustain it. And we hear things after we don't make our goals like, oh, you didn't want it bad enough. But that's not it at all. It's all about our wiring. Let me break that down. A goal is our desired outcome. A system is the daily behaviors that get us to our goal. If there's a gap between what we want and what we're doing, our habits will always win. Why? Because we've practiced them, we've perfected our habits, we've been doing them so long. Even the ones that are no longer serving us, sometimes we continue way past their welcome. But the good news is we can build new defaults. We can rewire our patterns. When we know more, we can do differently. And here's the mind shift that changed everything for me. I learned that goals aren't for people who want to do things often. They're for people who want to do things once. A habit is for people who want to continue. So you've probably been told your whole life to make goals, write them down, think big. I know I have. And I'm not saying that goals are bad because I do believe in all of that. But it's more of a roadmap. It's not going to get us there unless we put a plan behind it. I've set plenty of goals. And when I succeeded, I felt great. But you know what? Some of those wins were short lived because I didn't build a system to sustain it. For me, my example would be weight loss. That's not new to my life, it's been my whole life. But it will also never define who I am. Whether I'm successful at times, more successful than others, I've made that a conscious effort to not allow my weight to ever define who I am. I have so much more to offer than what you see. So, yes, I think differently now when I make goals than I have in the past. And I'm not just asking now, what's the goal? I'm actually also asking, what's the habit for the goal so that it can be long term results? A goal is always good and it makes you feel successful at first. But we have to stop chasing finish lines and chase the foundation of it. Now, what makes success personal? It's not about what we accomplish once, it's about what becomes a part of who we are. And now that we know better, we can build better. Can I take a few minutes to talk about validation? Okay, good. Thank you. I have to because this is where many of us lose ourselves chasing someone else's version of success. Social media will convince you that if people aren't clapping, you're not doing enough. You know, like when you see celebrities that have millions of followers, and then somebody posts something that is derogatory, makes them feel bad, and they start closing up their accounts, not wanting to make anybody else see them. Retaliation of some sort. But if you looked at the number of followers that that actual celeb has, those few people should never have mattered to begin with. But when we seek validation, we allow people to take ownership of our own lives. It's hijacking. So, how does that happen? I'll tell you how. If you don't know your own value, you'll keep waiting for others to validate you. And if you build your definition of success on applauses and thumbs ups and heart emojis, you'll burn out trying to earn it. When we live by our own values, other people's opinions don't matter as much because we're not performing. We're in alignment with our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, our wants. And listen, we've all had moments where we tried to look the part. I know I have. We've cleaned up on the outside and felt disconnected on the inside. And for a while, it can actually work. You can fool quite a bit of people by looking good on the outside. You can say the right things, you can post the right pictures with the right angles, but eventually, fake shows. You ever seen one of those knockoff Gucci bags? It looks great at first. Luxury vibes, compliments are rolling in, and you're strutting with your Gucci bag. And then the letters start fading, and now you're just walking around with a Gucci bag. Not as hot anymore. That's what happens when we try to look successful instead of living successful. Image can't cover your emptiness. It can't fill the gap between what you want and what you have. And you can have the title and still feel hollow. You can have the money and still feel lost. And you can get likes and still question your worth when the screen goes black. So hear me when I say, build your life from the inside out. You want the real secret sauce? Or should I actually say you want the real secret sauce again? Because if you listen to episode 4, you already know that vulnerability is the skill. And what we've learned about successful people so far, and they won't always put it on the highlight reels, but they're okay if they don't know it first. And that's the key. Not pretending, no performative confidence. They've made peace with learning as they go, and so should we. They've failed forward. They've asked for help, and they've showed up messy because they bet on themselves. And not knowing things is not a weakness. It is in the places that I am sometimes. That's what I hear. It's wisdom in progress. So if you've been waiting to feel ready before you start, you might be waiting forever. And I'm saying that with love, but also a little bit of urgency. Start anyway. Grow as you go. That's how we get better. So, first, you define success and what that actually means to you. And next, you put in an action plan to support it. Stop procrastinating. Stop making excuses. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Be like Nike. Just do it. Let me break it down a little bit more simple. Success is consistent action. It's little bits at a time, and it's in alignment with our purpose. The results we actually want. That's it. No pressure, no perfection, just purpose and practice over and over and over again. For me, every day I work on some type of growth. And it's not for perfection, and it's definitely not for applause. Heck, half the time I don't even know what I'm working on. I just know that there's a need for something. And again, I'm willing to start messy and get in there and figure it out. Let me give you a visual on consistency. Imagine the biggest tree outside your house. Now imagine every day you walk out there, take an axe, and cut off one branch at a time. Minimal change at first, and the tree still stands. But day after day, that daily hit eventually starts to show. That tree becomes bare, and the shift becomes visible. And that's what growth does. It's slow, it's steady, it's undeniable. It might take weeks, it might take months, it might even take years, depending on what your goal is. But one day we look back and we realize that we've built something beautiful because daily effort leaves the trail. And trails help you to build confidence, and confidence is the best motivation there is. Have you ever seen those TV makeovers when somebody comes out and they clearly need some help, right? And then the music opens at the end, and that person comes out strutting their stuff, hair toss, Giselle catwalk walk. That boost of confidence that helps. So if it's a makeover that you need to jumpstart yourself, like Nike said, just do it. We don't need to change it all. We just need one powerful decision to start showing up for the real life that we actually said we want. You already have what it takes. And the fact that you keep coming back to this podcast indicates that you know that there's more for you and you're just looking for tips and pointers of what that actually means. So today I say walk in it. Walk in your purpose. Success is an identity. Some of you, again, are caught up on the mistakes that you've made, whether it was recent or a long time ago. And to that, I say, so what? We've all made mistakes. It's not about perfection. We're human. It's about how we choose to get back up, how we bounce back. Let it go. Get up. Stand in the person that you are now. Forget the mistakes that you did. It's not about the past. It's about what we choose to continuously do because we haven't learned from it. So if you've learned something from those mistakes, it's time to let it go. It's not going to repeat itself because you know better now. You don't need to own that. You don't need to carry that with you anymore. Whether it was your own mistakes or someone's wrong to you, let it go. You cannot change the past. We are here for our future. Life is not promised to us. We have limited time. Why are you still sulking, consulting, talking about something that happened so long ago? And I know, easier said than done. These are real feelings, but it's time to pack them up in the box that they belong in and ship them out. You have to know that you are not what you did. You are what you repeatedly do. And it wasn't about the one win or the one failure, or hell, maybe even multiple. It's the habits, the consistency, how we are choosing to carry ourselves now in the present, things that we are in control over. We don't just have success, we embody success. So stop wanting or waiting or desiring somebody else's version to complete who you are. You tell people who you are and lead with your truth. No more guessing. No more trying to figure me out. Let your habits speak for you. Let your values walk into every room before you do. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a candy shop owner that found candy missing from his store. And he called his two employees into the room and shared his findings, and then plainly asked them, who stole the candy? And the first employee said, I didn't steal the candy. And the second employee said, I don't steal. Did you hear the difference? The first employee is defining himself by one single act, denying what he actually did. The second employee is defining himself by his identity, who he is. That's the power of identity. It's not about the one choice or the one moment. It's about who I am, living with who I am, telling you who I am, showing up that way consistently. And what that belief means for the choices that we make every day. When we shift to our identity, our actions will follow naturally. And I've seen this play out in my own life more times than I can count. I can't tell you how often I've heard, through the grapevine, of course, someone saying, there's just something about her. Sometimes it's kind in an uplifting type of way, and sometimes it's not. Some relationships are built on perception and not reality. I said it before, I don't look like people I know. So people are hesitant. It looks different, it feels different. There's parts of us that need to justify something with something that is familiar. That's just human nature. But here's the truth that I carry with me. What you think about me is none of my business. But how you treat me, that's absolutely my business. I can't control your assumptions. I can only control my alignment. I can only keep showing up as the person who I know myself to be. Because again, success is not about being understood by everyone. It's about being true to ourselves consistently. And when we live in our truth, we stop chasing approval for people who don't plan to ever bring us peace. So let's reset how we think about success. Here's the steps. First, we define it. What does success mean for you? Then we evaluate it. Does it include peace, rest, purpose, joy? We have to audit it. Do your daily habits match that definition? Redefine the finish line. What if the win is a feeling and not a title? And pick one action, that one small thing that you do this week to align your plan with what you consider success. Are you willing to bet on yourself? Because here's what I learned about every successful person that I've admired. They bet on themselves all the time. Doesn't seem fancy. And it's not because it's easy, and it's not because they had all the answers, but it's because they believe that their investment would never be wasted if they're at the helm. They show up scared, they make the call, and they're willing to try over and over and over again until they get it right. When we bet on ourselves, the right doors begin to open. So I'll ask you again, are you willing to bet on yourself? Because I know I am. And honestly, I'm still learning. But if you're here listening, reflecting, and showing up with an open heart, you're obviously ready to rise. You wouldn't be here in episode 6 of a podcast that's designed to make us lead our lives into success if you didn't know that there was an opportunity for you. So that brings us to our favorite, the pulse check. Ready? Have you been measuring success by your own standards? Do your habits reflect the you that you want? And would you still feel proud if no one clapped? Are you brave enough to let go of what looks good to chase what feels good? Now, if you felt a little sting, too many no's, start now. I want to take a second to go back to the 4th question because it's packed with truth and it's packed with opportunity for change. The question was, are you brave enough to let go of what looks good to chase what actually feels good? Some of us are holding on to things because, again, it's what other people believe to be successful. It's that job that we're in, that relationship that we're in. It's the car that we drive. It's what other people would have wanted for us. It's what success looks like with the people that you might be around most often. But it doesn't feel good and it doesn't bring you joy. So that's the question. Are you willing to let those things go and actually introduce your life to things that actually make you feel good? Let's talk about personal growth. You don't automatically get better at something because time is passing. I know I don't. It's not because of the longer that you do it, it's the habits that we created to support it that actually makes us better. We can spend a whole decade stuck with the same mindset, same habits, same fears. The only thing in life that's guaranteed, and no, it's not taxes, it's actually aging. Growth, that's intentional. It needs work. And we have to be honest with ourselves. Everything worthwhile in life is uphill. Our better relationships, better communication, deeper faith, stronger leadership, confidence, healing, it's all uphill. We don't coast to greatness. We need to put in a plan. A goal is nice, but a plan is what keeps us going when the motivation actually runs out. So ask yourself, what are the areas in your life that right now need intentional focus for you to grow? What systems do you have in place to support that? And are you surrounding yourself with people who challenge you and stretch you? Because if you're hoping you'll become the best version of yourself someday without direction, without strategy, then the chances are you won't. Here's something I live by. Determine that each day you'll improve your life somehow. Not next week, and not when you feel more confident, and not when it's convenient. Today. Start today. And to do that, we have to place ourselves in a growth environment. What's a growth environment, you ask? It's a space where you're not the smartest person in the room, you're surrounded by people who stretch you, and you're challenged to think deeper, show up bigger, and speak to add value. It's not always going to be comfortable, but here's the truth. Everything in life that we don't have is sitting right outside our comfort zone. The relationship we want, the confidence that we're craving, the opportunities that we're dreaming about, all of it is right on the other side of being a little uncomfortable. That's why successful people seek out growth environments. They get around mentors, coaches, and truth tellers. They stay curious and they stay teachable. And the most important, they are not intimidated by people who ask questions. In fact, they respect it. So if you're the one that everybody runs to for advice, but there's no one pouring back into you, it may be time to shift the room that you're in. We don't grow when we're always the ones giving. We grow when we're also willing to receive. So let's end with the keys to success recap. The first thing that you need to do is define what success means to you, not what other people have planned for your life. When we redefine success as something that's personal, meaningful, and real, we stop performing and we start becoming who we're meant to be. Stay teachable. Growth stops when egos take over. Chase discomfort. It's a sign that you're expanding. Set your intention daily. Growth doesn't happen on accident. Track small wins. They're proof that you're moving in the right direction. Invest in your development. Invest in your time, your energy, your relationships, your mentorship. Be in rooms that make you rise, that make you feel good. We live until we die, and it should never be confused. There is a difference. Keep showing up and keep building. We will be successful because we're doing it on purpose. Together, we make magic. See you soon.